is a coconut raisin patty, and the thing is so good. I'm going to make it for you guys, and I hope you like it. It is so delicious, it is so tasty, and I'm eating one right now. So I'm going to show you guys how I got this recipe going. So let's go with this. Now I have 3 cups of all-purpose flour here. Let's see what we have here. We have 3 tablespoons of butter or margarine. I have half a cup of raisins here, half a teaspoon of cinnamon powder, half a teaspoon of nutmeg, and I'm also going to add some ginger to it. The ginger is going to kick it up a mean notch with the coconut. And I'm also going to add my salt, and that is a teaspoon of salt, and that is a tablespoon of baking powder. Now guys, this is the coconut that I'm going to be using. This is the dried coconut, and this is a sweetened coconut. So because this is a sweetened coconut, I'm only going to add a half of cup of granulated sugar to it. Okay. If you want to go ahead and buy the fresh coconut, you could do so. That is the original way of doing it. I usually just get my dried coconut when I'm making recipes like this to make it easy, because I'm not going to get my fingers all cut up on the grater. But this coconut right here is just as good as the coconut when you buy it from the store, okay? And this is the one that I'm going to be using, and that is the Tropical brand. And I'm also going to add milk to make my dough. If you don't want to use milk to make your dough, guys, use water. You don't have to use milk, but I want my dough to have that certain kind of taste to it with the gizzardo, so that's why I'm going to be using milk. So don't say why you use milk to make it. You could use water, but in my kitchen I'm going to use milk. So let's get started. I forgot to tell you that you're going to need vanilla, so you're going to need a teaspoon of vanilla. Okay, so the first thing that you're going to do is put your butter in. You're going to add your sugar, and this is a half a cup of sugar. Also going to put my ginger in, and then I'm going to add my nutmeg and my cinnamon powder. Also going to add a half a cup of raisins, and I'm also going to add a teaspoon of vanilla. Then I'm going to add my coconut. So you just want to go ahead and mix this in, and my fire, guys, is on medium heat. Okay, guys, so I'm going to give this about 5 to 7 minutes on medium heat, and I'm just going to go ahead and shut the fire off. I'm going to put that aside, and then we are going to move on to our dry ingredients. So that's how that looks. Okay guys, now we're moving on to our dry ingredients. I'm going to add 2 teaspoons of butter. We're going to have our baking powder, and that's a tablespoon of baking powder, and that's a half a teaspoon of salt. Now, like I told you before, if you don't want to use the milk, go ahead and just do water. It is fine, it doesn't matter in this. Now with clean hands, you're going to break up that butter into your flour. Then you want to go ahead and add your milk or water, and just knead that in until the dough becomes nice and soft. So okay guys, so that's how I want my dough to be. It's pretty soft, right? What I'm going to do here, I'm just going to leave it like that. I'm going to let this sit for about half an hour, within half an hour to an hour, and then I'm going to come back and finish this thing up. So you want to get a plastic wrap and just cover it over and just let it sit, and then I'll come back and move on to the next step. So okay guys, we are moving on to the next step. You need your rolling pin, of course, and here's my dough, and my dough has been sitting for about 30 to 45 minutes. And so I'm going to take that plastic off. I'm just going to throw that out on my surface here. I'm just going to go ahead and sprinkle some flour on top of here because I'm trying not to have it stick. That's why you're going to do that. And put a little bit of flour on my rolling pin as well. And then I'm going to start rolling this out. Okay guys, you want to make sure that your dough is nice and smooth, right? There's no lumps, there's no hair. You want to make sure that it's not sticking onto your countertop, because you want to make sure when you cut those circles, the circle come out nice and perfect. So that's basically what I want to happen here. So that looks pretty good, and it's definitely not sticking. That's exactly how I want it. Okay, so I made 5 circles here, and see how easy that comes off? That's because your dough is not sticking to your countertop. So we put this aside, and this is what your circle looks like. See? Nice and smooth like. Now all you're going to do is get your coconut and your raisin, and you're just going to place it right in the middle of it, just like that. Don't put too much because you don't want it to spill, because remember, you're just making party-sized patties, little treats. So you go ahead and you fold it over like that, and then you use your fork, of course, and crimp the ends. So that is what it looks like. And then with the fork, you just go ahead and give it a little hole there. Alright, so that is what your little patty should look like, just like that. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to make up the others. I'm going to show you what that looks like when I'm done making them up, and then I'm going to go ahead and pop it in the oven. They should be baked at 320, and it only takes about 25 minutes to bake. Keep an eye on it though, because everybody oven have a little bit of, sometimes not too hot and sometimes too overly hot, so keep an eye on it. I'm going to show you what my next step is when I get done making up the other, so I'll see you back. Okay guys, we're moving on to the next step. I have my baking container here, and all I did was put a little bit of butter or margarine on a paper towel, and all you're going to do is just rub that onto the baking container, because you don't want this thing to stick. Whenever it's get done baking, you just want it to come off easy, and it's going to give the bottom of the patty a nice little color too. So that's why we're doing this. Now all I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and place my patties into the baking pan, just like that. Now the last and final thing that you're going to do, you're going to get your melted butter or margarine, and you just want to go ahead and just make sure that you coat these patties very well with your butter. So yeah, little tasty treat. So that is what that looks like. I'm going to go ahead now and I'm going to put that inside of my oven, and I'm going to let that bake again at 320, and it's going to bake for about 25 minutes. So I will see you back. There you have it, guys. I'm all done. Coconut raisin patties in my kitchen. Nice for parties or any kind of little celebration, even just for the kids at home, you know, if you want to give them a little treat or a little snack. I'm going to cut into one of these things so you guys could see what that looks like on the inside. So there you go. It's very, very delicious. Alright, so there you have it, guys. Give this video a thumbs up. Let me know if you like this recipe. And as always, from my kitchen to your kitchen, enjoy! I'm gonna let this cook for a good 30 minutes on medium heat. Cover it up nice and make it simmer. And when it's done simmer, a time for we eat. So see you back in a few minutes.
So this is in with your foundation, full coverage, you know, like bam. And last but not least, the last thing I tend to go for in my makeup collection is this palette right here. Let me show you what this baby looks like. It has a whole bunch of concealers. I believe it's $10 for this palette.